I'm 66 now, retired but not idle. My name is James Keegan, Jim, and I live across town from my daughter in Henderson, Ohio, in a one-story ranch with a shed that smells like cut pine and oil. The shed holds my tools and the calm that comes from knowing where things belong. The house that matters, though, isn't mine alone. It's the split level on Red Maple Court where my daughter, Allison, and her husband, Derek Mercer, are raising my granddaughter, Maddie. 3 years ago, when their credit was shaky and rent was climbing, I co-signed their mortgage with Clearview Home Loans. We celebrated with deli sandwiches and a sleeping newborn. Just until we refinance, Derek said. You're our safety net, Jim. I like being needed. Trouble didn't arrive in sirens, it came in a word: transfer. We just have to quickly transfer the house, Allison said on a Wednesday, stirring sugar into coffee like she was making syrup. She'd stopped by while Maddie napped in the back seat. It'll make everything smoother for the buyers. Buyers? I asked. Derek joined on speakerphone. Market's hot, he said. We can sell now, move closer to Columbus, roll the equity into a new build. Strike while the iron's hot. My hand steadied on the mug. You mean sell the house you and I both owe money on? Technically, you don't have to be there, he said. We've got your power of attorney from when you had shoulder surgery. Title can handle the rest. That paper lets you make payments, I said. Not transactions. Not a sale. There's a look people get right before they do something reckless because it feels faster than doing it right. I saw it then, wearing my daughter's face and my son-in-law's smile. Don't make it personal, Dad, Allison said, softening her voice. It's just business. Business is a word that hides a lot. My name on a mortgage wasn't business to me. It was 30 years of on-time bills and a Chevy paid off in cash. It was the roof over my granddaughter's bed. The difference between love and liability lives in how a signature is used. The medic in me took over, assess, stabilize, plan. I didn't argue. I didn't give a speech about trust or the way shortcuts bleed later. I just nodded and offered an ordinary distraction. This weekend I'm going to a spa, I said. My back's been acting up. You two handle your open houses. That night I pulled the file box from the hall closet, birth certificates, insurance cards, the folder labeled Clearview. The limited power of attorney buzzed in my fingers like a live wire. The language was plain. For the purpose of managing and remitting loan payments. Nowhere did it say transfer, convey, encumber, or sell. Paperwork is a fence built of sentences. The gate is where the verbs are. I made a list because lists keep me from missing the obvious. 1. Draft a revocation of the limited POA. 2. Notarize it. 3. Send certified copies to the mortgage servicer, the title company, and the county recorder. 4. Call the bank's fraud line. 5. Keep my face calm and my mouth shut. I drove to the public library for a template. The reference librarian, Meg Brandt, printed one from the State Bar's site and talked me through the blanks. Loan number, parcel ID, date, signature. Record it with the county, she said. Send copies certified. At the Marion County Recorder, a clerk named Susan McNeil stamped and scanned while I waited. We'll index it today, she said. Anyone trying to record something with that POA will see this first. $10 and a receipt later, my name felt heavier and safer. The UPS store notary, Mr. Ravi Patel, watched me sign and pressed his seal with a thunk like a door locking. At the post office next door, I paid for certified mail with return receipt, green cards that felt like tiny shields. 1 to Clearview Home Loans, attention, loans servicing. 1 to Cottonwood Title and Escrow, attention, Tara Whitfield. 1 addressed to Allison and Derek as attorney-in-fact for James Keegan. I tucked the tracking slips behind Maddie's photo in my wallet. On the drive home I called Clearview's fraud number and reached a man named Kenji Walters. He added a hard stop to the loan, no title changes, no payoffs, no assumptions without both borrowers present with government ID. Good move recording the revocation, he said. Title will halt if they see it. I didn't brag or warn. Love can have locks. The deadbolt on a door isn't a judgment, it's a boundary that keeps good people honest and bad ideas out. Thursday evening, a text from Allison. Closing Friday at 2. We'll swing by after to celebrate. A smiley face. It felt like she'd borrowed my coat without asking and planned to return it with a stain. I put the phone face down and listened to the ballgame with the sound low. When you've worked enough wrecks at intersections, folks insist are usually fine. You learn to respect right-of-way. Paperwork, in its gray way, paints lines on the road. I slept with the window cracked, June air moving the curtains Claire picked years ago. In the dark, I thought about the moment in a call when you decide, cardiovert or compress. You act and hope the body meets you halfway. I'd done my compressions. The rhythm would show itself soon enough. Morning broad habit, iron a shirt, make coffee, check the mailbox. One of the green cards was already back. Clearview had signed for their copy. I slid it next to my keys like a lucky coin. I packed a small gym bag, towel, paper bag, ibuprofen, and taped a note to the fridge where the important things live: ID, revocation receipt, tracking slips, recorder's number. Then I locked my door and felt the click like a prayer answered. Red Cedar Springs Spa sits behind a strip mall, neat as a dentist's office. I checked in with a smile and left my phone in a locker, because a man should keep his word, even to a pretext. Eucalyptus drifted from the steam room. I let the heat do slow work on the miles my back has carried. Across town at 2 o'clock, other people would be breathing too: realtor, escrow officer, notary, buyer, counting on ink to do what trust should. My part was already done. Paper has a way of showing up when it needs to. I closed my eyes and listened to my heartbeat the way I used to listen for breath sounds in a wrecked sedan. I traded diesel and adrenaline for steam and patience, but the job was the same: keep the living alive, keep the damage from spreading, wait for the next vital sign to tell you what you saved. Outside, the parking lot glittered with heat, the kind that makes air look like it's breathing. I took one slow breath and let it out, counted to 4, and let the plan hold. Boundaries aren't anger. They are rails. They keep the wheels on the road. I did what I said I'd do. I went to the spa. Red Cedar Springs smelled like citrus and eucalyptus. I paid cash for a day pass, put my phone in a locker, and told the front desk I was unplugging. Steam asked your shoulders to admit what they'd been carrying. Mine confessed a career of stairwells, stretchers, and winter ice. I let the heat climb until the part of me that wanted to lecture my daughter had to sit down and hush. Here's the part one couldn't know in the moment, but I can tell you now because paper leaves footprints, and people tell the truth once the adrenaline wears off. The timeline came together from Tara Whitfield's voicemail, a police incident report, and Kenji's email, notice of halted closing, Mercer/Keegan. At 1:53 p.m., Derek and Allison walked into Cottonwood Title and Escrow with their realtor, Lindsay Adams. The buyers, a nurse named Cheryl Cole and her husband, Martin, an HVAC tech, were already there with pens uncapped. Escrow Officer Whitfield, Tara, checked IDs and stacked the documents: deed, closing disclosure, payoff statement, affidavits. She asked the question title people live by. Are all title holders present today? All necessary parties are represented, Derek said, tapping the limited power of attorney I'd given them last year. He's out of town at a spa. Payments only, Tara said, reading while her fingers searched the county index. There, under Marion County Recorder, sat my revocation, time-stamped Monday 10:41 a.m., tied to the parcel number on her deed. At 2:04 p.m., Clearview's internal note fired to CO borrower revocation on file. Personal appearance required for title changes. The alert came from Monica Price in loan servicing. Mr. Mercer, Tara said, keeping her voice even. We have a recorded revocation of the power of attorney. We can't proceed without Mr. Keegan here in person. It's just red tape, Derek said. He slid a form forward with a signature that wanted to be mine. We have his authorization. The in-house notary, Caleb Stinson, compared that J to my specimen signature from Clearview. The one on the page leaned lazy, a cousin trying on my coat. Sir, Caleb said gently, this doesn't match. Tara asked everyone to wait and stepped to the hall. She called the recorder to confirm. Susan McNeil answered. She called Clearview. Monica returned with, do not fund, do not record co-borrower absent. Then Tara did the right thing. She told the room the closing was halted. On what grounds? Lindsay asked. Lack of authority and a potential fraudulent signature, Tara said. Allison's breath hitched. Derek's jaw went rigid. What if we get him on FaceTime? He tried. Not how this works, Tara said. At 2:22 p.m. Cottonwood's counsel, Marlene Cho, stepped in, read the revocation, and shook her head. The buyers glanced at the clock. Tara called Henderson Police. Officer Luis Delgado arrived, took statements, photographed the questionable signature, and explained, attempted forgery, in a voice that lowered the room by 5 degrees. No cuffs. Just the case number. Back at Red Cedar Springs, I was a man in a white towel watching steam curl. When I dressed and opened the locker, the world rushed back. The phone lit like a console at shift change. Call stacked from unknowns: Allison, Cottonwood, Clearview. One voicemail said, Mr. Keegan, this is Officer Delgado. And then my blood turned steady and cold, the way it gets when the part of you that learned to walk into scenes wakes up. On a wooden bench with my shoes unlaced, I listened to Tara's voice. We halted the closing due to a recorded revocation and a signature discrepancy. Please call me. Kenji's. Just confirming our stop. You did exactly right recording and notifying. We'll back you up. Allison's. Dad, please. Can you call me? It's not what you think. It was exactly what I thought, but that doesn't help a daughter breathe through a mistake. The late afternoon heat turned the asphalt into a mirage. At my kitchen table, same place I'd once signed as co-borrower while a baby slept between us, I laid out what I had: file stamped revocation, green return receipts, Kenji's email, Tara's number, a pen. I wrote a list like I was back on an incident log. 1. Call Officer Delgado. 2. Call Tara. 3. Call Allison. 4. Call attorney, Myra Collins, recommended by a buddy from the firehouse. On the job we used to say, if it isn't written, it didn't happen. I carried that rule home with my boots. Dates, times, names, badge numbers, little anchors in rough water. I wasn't angry, not exactly. Anger flares and burns out. What I wanted was containment, keep the harm from spreading, keep the bank calm, keep my credit boring. Boring is what you want a heart rhythm and a loan to be. Before I dialed, I poured a small rye and let it sit. Then I made the first call. Mr. Keegan, Officer Delgado said, voice calm. Everyone's been advised. We have documentation. We'll be sending over a case number. I'd appreciate a statement when you can. Happy to, I said. An officer? Thank you for treating it like paper can be evidence. It often is, he said. And sometimes the cleanest kind. I called Tara next. She apologized for the disruption as if saving my house had ruined my day. I thanked her for doing her job like it mattered. Paperwork saves lives too, if you apply it at the right time. Then I stared at Allison's name on my phone and felt the old ache that comes from holding two truths. My daughter is good, and my daughter did something reckless that could have broken us. When I finally pressed call, I had a sentence ready, simple as a pulse check. Are you somewhere you can talk and tell me the truth? She answered on the second ring, voice tight like someone talking in a parked car. Dad? I didn't know it would be like this. Derek said it was just to keep the rate lock. They're making a huge deal. They're making the exact size of deal the law requires. I said. Tell me what you signed. I didn't. There was a form, and he said it was just an acknowledgement. I swear I thought payments covered it. Payments keep lights on. I said. Transfers move roofs. Those are different verbs. I could hear her breathing. You're not going to hate me? She said. I'm going to be your father. I said. Which means I'll be steady. We'll talk with attorney Myra Collins tomorrow at 10 if you can manage it. Derek can bring his attorney. Until then, don't touch my accounts, don't speak for me, and keep every scrap of paper from today. Okay, she whispered. I'm sorry. I know. Tonight you go home, feed Maddie dinner, and sleep. Tomorrow we deal with facts, not shortcuts. When we hung up, I wrote the time of the call on the corner of Kenji's printout, and the case number from Delgado's message. Old habits: chart the scene, preserve the chain, keep the story honest. Then I set my phone face down and let the quiet return, thin and necessary, like clean gauze on a new wound. I exhaled. I didn't sleep much. That happens after a call, even when the sirens are paperwork. You triage the what-ifs until the clock grows honest. At 5:14 a.m., I made coffee, lined up the documents like a medic lays out gauze, and waited for a decent hour to call attorney Myra Collins. Her office sits over a bakery on Court Street. Myra is quick-eyed, with a voice like a level. She shook my hand, paged through my folder, and said, "Let's put the firebreaks where they belong." I told her everything: the limited POA for payments, the quick transfer, pitch, my recorded revocation, Tara halting the closing, Officer Delgado's call. She listened until I ran out of verbs. Then she drew a neat box on a yellow pad and wrote Keegan inside. "You're a co-borrower and on title," she said. "They can't sell without you. They tried anyway. We shore up and we memorialize." "How hard?" I asked. "Hard enough to hold," she said. "Step 1, notices to everyone in the chain: lender, servicer, title, escrow, recorder. Step 2, fraud alerts with Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Step 3, ask the lender to flag no POA for conveyance. Step 4, affidavit that the signature at Cottonwood isn't yours. Step 5, a plan for your daughter that doesn't rely on wishes." I signed what needed signing. We attached my driver's license and the recorder stamp. "This backs the police report," she said, "and tells the DA there's a victim who cares." "I care," I said, "but I don't want to break Allison." "Boundaries aren't punishments," Myra said. "They're lines so people can find the road." At 10, Allison arrived alone, clutching a reusable bag of papers. She looked smaller than 32. Myra's tone stayed level. "This isn't a criminal interview," she said. "It's a family conversation with legal rails." "I thought the power of attorney covered it," Allison said. "Derek said paperwork is just friction." "Friction keeps the car on the road," Myra said. "Your father's revocation was proper. Cottonwood and Clearview did what professionals do: they halted. That protected all of you." Allison's eyes filled. "I'm sorry, Dad." "I believe you're sorry for the pain," I said. "I need you to be sorry for the choice." She nodded, like a patient repeating discharge instructions. Myra slid a blank sheet toward her. "Write your timeline," she said. "Every call, text, and document. Facts steady us." We drew practical circles. Allison would keep the mortgage current. She would not sign or present anything for me. I would deal with lender and title in my own name. We would meet with Dr. Renee Abbott, a family therapist, Thursday at 3. Derek could attend only with a lawyer and a willingness to listen. Near noon, a county number rang. Assistant District Attorney Kelly Donnelly introduced herself. "We're reviewing what happened at Cottonwood," she said. "If you're willing, we need your statement and copies of the revocation and return receipts." "You'll have them today," I said. "Mr. Mercer may face a misdemeanor, attempted forgery and falsification," she said. "Likely a fine and probation if he cooperates. We'll discuss restitution for any costs." "I'm not here to ruin him," I said. "Me neither," she said. "I'm here to keep our records honest." After the call, Allison gripped her water bottle. "Is he going to jail?" "He's going to court," I said. "And you and I are going to counseling on Thursday." Her mouth twitched. "You already made the appointment?" "Ambulances arrive when they're dispatched." We broke for air. I bought a cinnamon roll from the bakery for Allison to take home to Maddie. Back at my kitchen table I faxed, the ADA packet and emailed scans too. I set fraud alerts and wrote the confirmation numbers on Myra's plan. At dusk, Derek texted, "This got blown out of proportion. We could have made a lot of money. Rate lock's gone. Thanks." I rewrote a dozen replies. What I sent, "We will communicate through counsel. Do not sign or submit anything in my name. Jim." At 9, Officer Delgado called to confirm his report and give me the case number. "A detective may follow up," he said. "Keep your binder handy." "I've got it," I said. Sleep found me late and light. The refrigerator hummed like a distant engine. I pictured stamps and ink and thought how much of a town is held together by quiet clicks: recorder, bank, courtroom, a notary's seal. Sirens carry chaos. Stamps hold it down. Morning brought an email from Clearview's Monica. Co-borrower note acknowledged. Loan flagged for in-person verification. Thank you for your diligence. I added passphrase to my cards that weren't pet names or schools. Then the ache arrived, the part fatherhood doesn't file. I took a fresh folder labeled Allison and filled it with the plan, fraud alert confirmations, and a one-page how to read your mortgage statement. I underlined the boring parts. On a sticky I wrote, we will do this the slow way. Slow and boring saves families. I drove to Red Maple Court to drop it on her porch. She pulled up as I reached the steps and rolled the window down. Dad, she said, will you come to the park with us after therapy? Maddie wants to show you the big slide. I can do one slide, I said. Then I'll need a chiropractor. Liar, she said, and for the first time in days we both laughed. On my way home, Myra called. Small update, she said. Cottonwood's council will send a letter confirming they halted without funding or recording. Keep it for any underwriter who checks later. Will do, I said. That evening, when the neighborhood settled and the dog next door announced the mailman's ghost, a detective left a brief voicemail asking me to come by Monday to sign a sworn statement. We like our I's dotted, he said. I'm fond of dots, I told the empty kitchen. Before bed I set 2 alarms, one for Dr. Abbott, one for the detective. I laid my wallet, keys, and the yellow plan in a row the way I used to stage a jump bag. It calmed my hands. Control is a myth, preparation is not. The phone lit with a few unknown numbers and one last text from Allison. Thank you for not giving up on me. I stared at the screen until it dimmed and then wrote in my notebook. Property rights are boundaries, not emotions. Some stories make their noise in sirens and shouts. Mine used the quiet tools, ink stamps, certified mail, and let them work. Somewhere in town, my revocation sat in a county database ahead of any deed anyone could dream up, a square of text that said not this way. Somewhere else, a lender's screen wore a red bar across our loan file that meant not today. And at my table, a father tried to believe that steady is a kind of love his daughter could still recognize. Tomorrow would bring therapy and, eventually, court dates and terms like diversion or plea. Tonight brought cinnamon, the soft tick of a cooling house, and the pulse of a plan that didn't need me to raise my voice. I turned off the light and let the town's quiet infrastructure keep time for us both. I let it go. Thursday at 3, I parked outside Dr. Renee Abbott's office, a converted Victorian with a ramp and a porch swing. Allison arrived a minute late, hair up, eyes red but steady. Inside, the waiting room smelled like lemon cleaner and old magazines. I felt overdressed in a collared shirt, like court and church had snuck up together. Dr. Abbott was middle-aged, sleeves rolled, voice low. She asked for the short version. I gave it. Co-borrower, limited power of attorney for payments, my revocation, the halted closing, Officer Delgado, the ADA. I spoke in nouns and times. Allison stared at her hands. Good, Dr. Abbott said. Now the long version. The long version is I wanted to be useful, I said. I signed because they couldn't get the loan otherwise. I believed refinance in a year the way you believe summer will come back. Allison swallowed once. We were drowning. Daycare, the car, the roof leak. I thought selling was a solution. Derek said the power of attorney was the lever. Dr. Abbott nodded. And now? I know it wasn't, Allison said. I know I hurt my dad. I kept my voice even. You scared me. There's a difference. I built guardrails because I love you. Dr. Abbott set a tissue box between us. Boundaries, she said, are rails that keep a family out of the ditch. Let's say them out loud. So we did. I would keep control of my signature. Allison would keep the mortgage current and ask questions before just doing. Derek would not be present today, and any future conversation would be with attorneys in the room. No more using business to skip feelings. Allison nodded, scribbling the list in her notebook. What if we can't afford the payment in 6 months? Then we call the servicer together and ask about a modification, I said. Slow, boring, on paper only. Dr. Abbott looked at me. Say the scary part you haven't said. I met my daughter's eyes. If you try to move the house again without me, I'll petition to be removed from the loan by court order and let the bank decide the rest. I'll help you survive, but I won't let you gamble my name. Allison wiped her eyes. I won't. I promise. Promises are air until paper holds them. I asked Dr. Abbott to witness our list. She smiled once. I don't notarize families, she said, but I like when they act like adults. We left lighter. At Riverside Park, Maddie pulled me toward the new slide, a bright plastic chute shaped like a cartoon flame. Poppy, watch! She yelled, and dropped like a penny in a bank tube. On the bench, Allison watched. I lied about the spa. I said after a while, because fences shouldn't hide rot. I did go, but only after the UPS store and the recorder and the post office. She winced, then nodded. I figured. I was mad for a day. Then I slept and felt grateful. It's weird to feel both. That's most of life, I said. Two things at once. She glanced at the stroller where Maddie fed a plastic foxwood chip. Derek's angry at you, she said. He says you embarrassed him. I put a stop to a felony, I said. Embarrassment is Mercy's little sister. Will you come if he wants to talk? I'll come with Myra. He can bring his attorney. No corners. She exhaled. Okay. We walked the loop while Maddie sang the alphabet wrong. She thought NOP was one long country. The sun was lower. Geese made committee noises. I carried the list like a dispatch ticket. Monday came gray and bureaucratic as a file folder. I met Detective Hart in a small interview room that smelled like old coffee. He had kind eyes and a recorder. State your name, he said, and I did. He asked for the timeline. I gave it in clicks and stamps. I handed over copies, revocation, recorder's receipt, the green cards, Kenji's email, Tara's letter confirming no funds, no record. He took each like a nurse taking labeled vials. Is this your signature on the closing disclosure? He asked, sliding a printout across. No. The word felt like a full stop on a busy street. He thanked me and turned the recorder off. Mr. Mercer's counsel has been in touch, he said. Likely a misdemeanor with a fine and probation. He's not our first, won't be our last. People get desperate around paper. Paper isn't neutral, I said. It just looks that way. He smiled. You've done more than most. If more folks recorded revocations and called their lenders, we'd have fewer stories like this. Outside, the sky was the color of an old shirt. I stood for a minute and let the quiet hit me. The adrenaline, such as it was, had ebbed, and what remained was a tired pride, like finishing a dull shift where nobody died because you counted pills correctly. Back home, I checked credit monitoring, 3 fraud alerts live, a freeze queued up if needed. Clearview showed the mortgage as current. A small miracle, boring on purpose. Derek texted once, "You made this worse," and then added a longer one I didn't answer. You don't understand deals. I muted the thread and wrote his attorney's name on my calendar, Ethan Rowe. That night, I took the sticker Dr. Abbott gave us, family agreements, and stuck it inside the kitchen cabinet where I keep spices and a bottle of Passover wine I never drink. Underneath I taped our list from the session. Boundaries can hide in plain sight and still hold fast. Before bed, I replayed the park in my head, Maddie's whoop, Allison's small laugh, the slide flashing like a harmless emergency. The town was quiet the way towns heal, by filing, by stamping, by turning off lights in offices whose names you learn only when you need them. I set out my wallet, keys, and Myra's card in a neat line. Tomorrow would be uneventful if I had anything to say about it, and that was my prayer now. Give us this day our daily boring. I set the coffee pot on a timer and slid the folder back into the drawer, one that sticks on humid nights. The house clicked and settled. A neighbor's sprinkler ticked. Paper and sleep would do the next shift. Now. The meeting with Derek happened the way controlled burns do, measured, hot, and meant to keep worse fires from starting. Myra booked the small conference room with the frosted glass. Allison came early, fingers braided around a water bottle. Derek arrived with his lawyer, Ethan Rowe, a careful man in a navy suit who spoke as if every word had to pass inspection. Myra laid the folder on the table like a medic setting down a kit. "We're here to keep this contained," she said, "and to decide how we move forward without more damage." Ethan nodded. "My client wants to resolve this." "Good," Myra said, and turned the folder so the tabs faced them. Recorded revocation, certified receipts, lender alerts, the title company's halt letter, the notary discrepancy, and Officer Delgado's incident report. No deed, no funding, no recording. Mr. Keegan's credit stayed untouched because he acted before the closing. Mr. Mercer, the attempted signature is the problem we're not going to pretend away. Derek stared at the table. "I made a mistake. You attempted to use authority you didn't have," Myra said, not unkindly. "That's more than a mistake. Luckily, paper held. Here's what can happen now." She numbered it out. 1. You accept the misdemeanor offer the ADA floated, attempted falsification, pay the fine, complete the ethics course, and stay clean. 2. You and Allison keep the mortgage current. 3. No one tries to transfer or refinance without both borrowers present with ID in hand. 4. If you want out from under Mr. Keegan's name, you refinance in Allison's name alone when she qualifies. 5. Until then, you deposit 3 months of mortgage payments into a separate account as a cushion. I suggest an account that requires both Allison and Mr. Keegan to sign for withdrawals. Ethan took notes. Derek bristled. 3 months up front? That's boring, I said. Boring keeps storms small. Allison looked at me, then at Derek. We can do 2 months now, she said. I can pick up extra shifts at the clinic. Mom's friend Denise can take Maddie 2 afternoons. That frees up childcare money. Ethan asked practical questions, routing numbers, passphrase, timelines. Myra answered with the calm of someone who keeps a clock running on the wall. Derek finally exhaled. I'll do the class, he said. I'll pay the fine. I'll put the money in. And a letter of apology, Myra added, sliding a blank sheet toward him. Nothing elaborate. 1 page. You tried to sign Jim's name. You recognize the harm. You won't do it again. He blinked. Is that really necessary? Yes, Allison said before I could. It is. He set the pen down like it weighed a pound. Fine. We left with a list everyone had touched. That matters. If you've ever watched a team carry a patient down a tight staircase, you learn how much safer the descent is when everyone has a hand on the load. Back home, a letter from Clearview waited in my mailbox. We have permanently notated your loan file. No conveyance under any power of attorney. Any title-related requests require in-person verification of both borrowers and a unique passphrase. The passphrase sat in my head like a joke only I found funny. Riverstone 81. The numbers meant nothing, that was the point. Lindsay, the realtor, called next. Mr. Keegan, I'm withdrawing the listing, she said. For what it's worth, I didn't know about the revocation until the desk pinged us. I should have asked better questions when they said transfer. Thank you for pulling it, I said. Next time, ask where the verbs are. She laughed once and sighed. I will. The town did what towns do. Word traveled without names, somebody's closing halted, police called, no arrest, thank God. I kept quiet. Gossip doesn't stop the bleeding, it just moves it around. Dr. Abbott, true to her profession, sent homework. List 3 ways you will ask for help before you grab a shortcut. Allison texted me a photo of her answers. 1. Call Dad. 2. Call the lender. 3. Tell the truth faster. The ADA called Friday morning. Mr. Mercer accepted pretrial diversion, Kelly Donnelly said. Fine, class, and a written admission. If he completes it, the case can be dismissed in a year. If not, the misdemeanor stands. Thank you for keeping it scaled, I said. My job is scale, she replied. And keeping the recorder's office from drowning in nonsense. At the community center, the lap lanes hissed. After I swam, I sat in the hot tub with men who measure time in surgeries and model years. One talked about a nephew who borrowed a signature to get a car. Another swore by freezing his credit after a data breach. We traded small armor, passwords, P.O. boxes, the spell of certified mail. Property rights are boundaries, I said without telling the story. Heads nodded as if I'd quoted scripture. Sunday, Allison met me at Miller's Diner where the pancakes are shaped like states if you ask nicely. She ordered Ohio without irony for Maddie. We talked numbers, not ghosts. She'd set up the cushion account with Ethan's signature next to hers and mine. She'd called Clearview to put her own passphrase on file and had them explain the escrow line like a teacher goes over fractions. Derek's mad at the word ethics, she said. He says classes are for kids. Most adults I know could use a refresher, I said. And so could I some days. She looked at me across the formica. I keep thinking about just business. That's what I said to you. It was me trying not to feel scared. Scared is honest, I said. Hiding scared under business is how people get hurt. Maddie smeared syrup on the state of Indiana, then clapped. Allison laughed, startled by her own sound. I want to refinance into just my name someday, she said. I know it might take years. I want to earn it. That's an adult sentence, I said. We'll set milestones and check them like oil changes. On the drive home, I stopped by the cemetery where Claire's stone sits under a maple that drops seeds like helicopters. I told her the story the same way I used to tell her about double shifts, short, true, and with the parts that hurt, said plainly. Karma showed up in a clipboard, I said. And in a clerk who filed on time. The week settled. Derek sent the apology letter. It was awkward, but it was ink. He texted me the receipt for the fine and a photo of the diversion paperwork. I replied with a thumbs up because some conversations don't need more. Myra emailed the boring plan, keep the loan current, no POA for conveyance, lender and recorder alerts active, a check in every quarter to review credit reports, savings cushion never below 2 payments, refinance only when debt to income and credit support it, and with both eyes open. At the bottom she typed a line that felt like a benediction, boring keeps families intact. I printed 2 copies, one for Allison's fridge, one for mine. I taped mine next to Dr. Abbott's list and the old photo of Claire at the county fair holding a lemon shake-up. My kitchen looked like a command post and a home, which felt exactly right. That night, as the cicadas tuned up and the ballgame returned to its familiar murmur, I wrote Maddie a letter for some future day. A signature is a promise your hand makes about your name. Keep your promises small and your paper straight. If anyone says we'll fix it later, put your pen down. I dated it and slid it into the folder beneath a tab labeled Someday. The phone stayed quiet, which felt like angels doing paperwork somewhere. Tomorrow would bring daycare drop-offs and overtime shifts and an ethics class taught in a fluorescent room. It would also bring another morning when my credit report read like a yawn. I turned off the kitchen light and let the house exhale. Slow and boring, I thought, the way a steady heart sounds in a stethoscope, the way a town sleeps when the clerks have locked their drawers and the last stamp has done its quiet job. The week after the apology letter, the town fell back into its ordinary noises. Trash trucks, school buses, a mower that always starts on the second pull. Ordinary is what I was after. Ordinary is the stretcher that doesn't tip on the stairs. Clearview mailed the escrow analysis and a glossy insert about tax bills. I sat with Allison at her kitchen table, and we read it like a map. This line, I said, tapping projected shortage, means next year's payment bumps unless you add to escrow now. She winced. We moved numbers around until they behaved. She canceled 2 streaming services, sold the old stroller, and set up a sinking fund, with Denise agreeing to a cheaper childcare swap. She wrote the plan down like medication instructions and stuck it on the fridge with a magnet in the shape of Ohio. Derek texted me once, finished the ethics class. No flourish, just a photo of his certificate under fluorescent lights. Later that night he called. I let it ring into voicemail and then listened, because even boundaries can have ears. I was arrogant, he said. The instructor showed real cases. People lose their houses because someone plays fast with signatures. I got called out in front of a dozen plumbers and a pastor. I'm angry at myself. I'm sorry for putting you in the crosshairs. I'll keep my lane. It wasn't eloquent, but it wasn't nothing. I saved the message and wrote the date on a sticky. Paper remembers for us. Officer Delgado called, too, to say the diversion terms were filed. He'll pay a fine and write the admission, he said. If he trips, the misdemeanor lands. You'll get a notice either way. Thank you for treating paper like evidence, I said. Paper is half my job, he said. The other half is telling people the paper matters. At the library, Meg Brand put up a flyer, Deed Fraud and You, a free workshop. She asked if I'd sit on the community panel with a title officer and a notary. I agreed on the condition that we kept my family's names out of it. We'll call you J.K., she said, smiling like a conspirator who files properly. The night of the talk, 27 people came, grandparents, a nurse from Allison's clinic, a kid in a ball cap who asked sharp questions about quitclaim deeds. Tara from Cottonwood explained how recording works. Caleb, the notary, explained how signatures tell on the hand that made them. I told the part of my story that belonged to the room. I didn't fight, I said. I recorded, mailed, and called. The clerk, the bank, and the title officer did their jobs, and my job was to let the rails hold. When the Q&A ended, 2 widows asked me to look at letters they'd gotten in the mail offering to expedite transfers for a fee. We circled scam with a pen and walked to the shred bin together like ushers. Saturday I fixed the broken latch on Allison's backyard fence. Maddie handed me screws like they were vitamins. What's a boundary? She asked, pinching my spare nails. A line that keeps good things safe, I said. Like this fence keeps the dog in and the street out. And people? Same idea, I said. We put our words where this latch goes and then we use them. She nodded, solemn as a tiny judge, and fed a plastic fox a leaf. On Sunday I brought donuts to the recorder's office. Government counters aren't supposed to accept gifts, I know that. I left the box in the break room with a note that said, "Thanks for doing the invisible work." Susan McNeil found me in the lobby anyway. We can't take bribes, she said deadpan, but we can take maple bars. Then her face softened. It's nice when someone notices that recorded 10:41 a.m. means something. It meant everything to me. Allison and I kept our Thursday appointments with Dr. Abbott. The second session felt less like triage and more like rehab. We're building muscles we should have built years ago, Allison said, half laughing, half crying. She practiced saying, I don't know. I need to ask. And I practiced not filling silence with advice unless she asked. Boundaries are awful and helpful, she said, and Dr. Abbott nodded like a coach who had seen ankles heal. Midweek, Ethan Rose sent over a draft communication agreement that would live in our folders. No surprises, no signing for each other, no third-party helpers pretending to be lawyers. All big decisions about the house on paper with 3 signatures, hers, mine, and time. Myra reviewed it and added a clause I liked. Any meeting that includes Derek will include counsel or a therapist, or it will be rescheduled. I read it twice and felt my pulse settle the way it used to when a monitor went from a jagged storm to sensible hills. At the pool, the veterans told stories about paperwork as armor. PP for your life, one of them said, and the phrase stuck. We wear helmets and gloves on scenes. At home, we wear certified mail and passphrase. Late one night, Allison texted, "He wants to talk to you one-on-one." No lawyers, no Dr. Abbott. On the porch, just men. I sat with the request until the urge to be magnanimous drained away and something steadier arrived. Not yet, I wrote back. I'll talk with ground rules and a witness. That's not a punishment, that's a seatbelt. When he can agree to that, I'll put water on the porch and we'll sit. She wrote, fair. We kept moving through the dull heroics. Clearview posted the payment. The cushion account hit 2 months, and then 3. Allison found $5 in a winter coat and texted me a photo like she'd struck oil. I laughed in my kitchen, alone and grateful for small, silly wealth that didn't require a notary. One afternoon I ran into Lindsay, the realtor, at the grocery store near the display of seasonal pumpkins. She looked sheepish. I learned the word conveyance the hard way, she said. Thank you for not flaming me online. Thank you for pulling the listing, I said. Ask about verbs next time. I will, she said, then held up a toddler in her cart. And I'll teach him, too. The ADA's office mailed me a form asking for a victim impact statement. I wrote 3 sentences in block letters like a medic chart. No financial loss. High emotional stress. Outcome should include education to prevent future harm. I signed my real name next to the truth and sent it in certified, because habits give a man ballast. At dusk, I walked the block and listened to the town. The invisible systems that caught us hummed under the ordinary. The server where my revocation lived, the policy Monica added to my loan, the note in Tara's file, the case number in Delgado's phone. Karma, it turned out, wasn't mystical. It was clerks and alerts and a notary who knew a lazy J when he saw one. It was also a daughter who said, "I don't know," instead of, "Just business," and a father who could go to a spa and mean it next time. Before bed, I opened the drawer with the folder and added a new tab, After. In it I slipped the workshop flyer, the communication agreement, Dr. Abbott's worksheet, and a photo of Maddie at the fence, grinning through the new latch. I labeled the spine like a medic labels a kit, airway, bleeding, after. Then I made the coffee for morning and clicked off the kitchen light. The phone was quiet again. The day had been boring in all the holy ways. No sirens, no stamps, no lawyers. Tomorrow might bring a porch talk with ground rules or just a grocery list. Either way, the rails were set. Property rights weren't a feeling I had to defend with speeches. They were boundaries I could point to, solid as a fence latch, quiet as a county index, ready to hold when the next quick fix tried to call itself a plan. Summer tipped toward August, and the story moved from emergency to paperwork's long tail. A tan envelope arrived first, State of Ohio v. Derek Mercer, confirming pretrial diversion. Fine payable in 30 days. Completion of an ethics course, already done. A year of keeping his nose clean or the misdemeanor would ripen into a conviction. The state didn't rage, it documented. Karma, it turned out, had letterhead. Myra called to translate the legalese into human. "He's in a box with air holes," she said. "If he follows the rules, the box disappears. If he doesn't, the box gets labeled and follows him." "Good," I said. "Boxes teach shape." Allison texted that night. "He wants to talk on the porch. He'll accept ground rules." I told her I'd meet them with Dr. Abbott present, witness, not referee. We set chairs 6 feet apart, and a pitcher of water between us like a neutral flag. The cicadas were loud. I liked the company. Dr. Abbott started. "We agreed on a structure. Short statements, no interruptions, everything specific and about behavior. If anyone gets hot, we pause." Derek stared at the slats of my deck like they held a better answer. "I was arrogant," he said finally. "I convinced myself we'll fix it later as something grown-ups do. I scared your daughter and tried to drag your name through a door it didn't fit. I'm sorry. I'll stay in my lane." "I heard your voicemail," I said. "I accept the apology. The consequence stays." He nodded once. "I'll pay the fine on time. The class is done. I won't touch a document with your name on it, not even to staple it." "Good," I said. "You don't get to borrow my signature. That's not punishment, that's physics." Allison's voice shook but held. I leaned on just business because I didn't want to say I was scared. I am scared. I want the slow plan anyway. "Then we'll make the slow plan your idea," I said. "Here are my conditions, spoken out loud where the porch hears them and remembers." I numbered them because numbering makes air solid. 1. No one signs for me, ever. 2. Any talk of sale, refinance, or transfer happens with all 3 of us in the room and Myra or Dr. Abbott present. 3. The cushion account never drops below 2 payments without a phone call to me that same day. 4. If I see one more attempt to move this house without me, I petition to separate my obligation and let the lender sort the rest. I'll help you survive. I won't let you gamble my name. Allison nodded, writing as if the pen were a seatbelt. "Yes." Derek swallowed whatever argument rose and said, "Yes." We signed a copy of those sentences, 3 small signatures under 4 plain lines, then sat with the quiet that follows a controlled burn. Dr. Abbott capped her pen. "That's how boundaries sound," she said. Not angry. Clear. Later, when Maddie was in bed and the moon had climbed over the maple like a patient therapist, Allison sat back down beside me. Do I still get to want out from under your name? She asked. You get to want anything, I said. The plan is milestones, not miracles. We check the numbers in 6 months, a year, 18 months. When the math says yes, we refinance to you. If it takes longer, it takes longer. She exhaled. Thank you for not making my shame the point. The point is the house and your credit, I said. Property rights aren't feelings. They're boundaries. The feelings matter, but they don't sign. The town went on around us, trains in the distance, a late mower sputtering, someone's sprinkler stitching the dark. Inside, at my kitchen corkboard, I pinned a fresh copy of the recorder's file-stamped revocation next to Myra's boring plan and Allison's counseling homework. I keep my life like a jump bag now, everything labeled ready. At the library workshop the next week, Meg asked me to end with, "But you wish you'd known sooner." I said that a limited power of attorney is a screwdriver, not a wrecking ball. That certified mail is armor. That you can love someone and still put up a gate they don't get to lift. People scribbled. Tara from Cottonwood added, "Ask where the verbs are." And the room laughed like you do when the truth shows up wearing a simple shirt. Clearview's Monica called to confirm the permanent note on our loan file, and no conveyance under any POA, and to read back my passphrase. Riverstone 81, she said. Right, I said. It's boring. Boring protects, she said. I wish we sold it that way. The ABA's office sent me a copy of Derek's signed admission. It wasn't poetry, and it didn't need to be. He named what he did, wrote that he knew why it was wrong, and promised not to try it again. I filed it behind a tab called after and felt my pulse settle into its workaday gait. We kept Thursday appointments with Dr. Abbott. Sometimes we cried. Sometimes we practiced scripts. I don't know, let me check. And, let's put that on paper. Sometimes we didn't talk about the house at all. We talked about Maddie's preschool and the way grief sneaks up at the grocery store when a lemon shake-up appears in the seasonal aisle. One afternoon, Derek asked to speak to me alone in the driveway. I glanced at Allison and she nodded. He kept his hands in his pockets like a teenager at court and said, "I told the guys at work what happened. One of them said I got off easy. He's right. I know that. I'm going to earn the easy." Good, I said. Earning boring is a full-time job. He almost smiled. You're a strange man, Jim. I've been called worse, I said, and we shook hands without pretending we liked it. When storms rolled through in September, I checked the basement for water and the file drawer for dryness. Both held. I went back to Red Cedar Springs one real Saturday. No errands dressed as self-care, just steam and a nap. When I came out of the locker room, the phone showed one voicemail from Allison, Maddie, breathless, telling me she could do the big slide. No hands. I sat in the quiet lounge and listened twice, a grown man in a white towel grinning like he'd just seen a miracle performed with gravity and plastic. On the corkboard at home, I kept one artifact from the worst day, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of what the rails had saved. It's the screenshot I took before I returned those calls, the phone face lit like a dashboard at shift change, proof that paper outran panic. I look at it when I'm tempted to go soft on the rules, when a shortcut dresses up as kindness, when I need to remember the moment the systems we trust actually did their job. It says, in block letters, what the day tried to shout and the plan quietly answered. 27 missed calls.